My name is Althea Smith. I'm the ex-mayor of Southwark, 2012-13, and at the moment I am an assistant deacon at my local church, training to be a pastoral minister. In the 80's, I was a student nurse at King's College, and there was quite a lot of activities because as student nurses we used to work, but we play hard, so we party hard. And although we were looking after a critical patient, we were dedicated and loyal. So we had my team as a student. My mentors were elders in the community who I know, and they've mentored me because at first they didn't believe my age when I started. So I was like a daughter, granddaughter to them. So they looked after me during my training, and we had a good team. Not like today, people just work and no play. But we used to have a good time, especially at weekends. We'll go out together. All the doctors, all of us will socialise while we were off duty. And there was lots of more things happening in the community because in the parks there used to be activity for the children. There was be celebration of different activists like Marcus Garvey Day and so forth. So we were always looking forward to what's happening in the park, and so you can bring the local children. There will be trips to the seaside. Everybody would have 3-4 trips going to different seaside, and to get out of, say, London or get out of Southwark, Lewisham or wherever you was living at the time.
So can I quickly ask about music? What sort of music did you enjoy in television and films, that sort of thing?
There's more things on television at those days to watch. Although there was a lot of sitcom, everybody's a traditional Coronation Street and so, but there was more activities because now you're just watching quite a lot of repeats. Music was very popular. There was a lot of shubin, nightclubs, what we call it shubin. Shubin is when people have house parties. And then everybody, whether you pay to go to the house party or if someone is having a house party, you just turn up and everybody enjoy themselves. Now the house parties are minimal, if just a private party because of the violence and so forth. So in the 80's, everybody was more welcome. It was like a open house. So everybody was welcome in the house. If a child was passing your house, like they usually do my house, and take something, it wasn't class of stealing. It was just that child was hungry, so therefore they're having something to eat, and they will see you and say, "Oh, I just went in your house and took something," and you just laugh it off. Now that would class as stealing. I think it was more easier to get house. But I remember when I got involved in the voluntary sectors after I left my training, and there was a policy called Sons and Daughters Policy, and we were adamant about it. And the reasons why, now I can look at it and say it was good for us, but at the time we didn't find it was good because what it meant that Bermondsey was kept for a white population. So everybody in Bermondsey were white. If you were ethnic, you couldn't move down there. And there was lots. I remember every Saturday morning I used to march against the National Front because they would say we can't cross Old Kent Road. So housing it was easier to get houses. The sons and daughter policy will mean that if a child was living with their mother and they become 18, automatically they would get the flat next door or get the flat 2 doors away. Now that doesn't happen. But now when we look at it, we say, "Oh, I wish my daughter was living near to me." Yeah, so it's at the time you didn't see the reason and the rationality wasn't good because of the racism, but now it would be beneficial for everybody. It wouldn't mean your children will be living closer to you. I'm living in a council house. I was a student nurse, and there's two priorities was like if you're a student or you're a student police officer and so on, there's a section of houses that's allocated for you, and you would get house as priority because you're in the national service private sector. Not so private sector, but you're contributing to your community. So the class of people that was priority housing would be at the time was soldiers, police, and nurses. My first accommodation after I left home was living at King's College Hospital because you had student resident. But after you qualify, you have to give that residence half because make way for other students. So then I got my first flat, and it was near to the hospital. It was in Camberwell because it was close to King's College Hospital, so I could walk it to work. It used to be snowing and so on. So when the snowfall, there's no excuse that you couldn't go to work. You could easily walk it to work.
So when you got your council flat, how many you were living inside it separately with this, after that?
When I first got my first council flat, I was living there on my own. and it was a one-bedroom property. And then eventually when I have my children, I was sort of living in a one-bedroom property, and I moved to a 3-bedroom property because I had my children. The NHS wasn't my first job. I used to, as a schoolgirl, I used to have a Saturday job. Most of us had Saturday jobs, so we used to work from Thursday night, Fridays, and Saturday all day, because those days most supermarkets weren't open on Sundays. Sunday is just a new rule, so we didn't work on Sundays. So that's why I used to work, and then I got myself into King's College by my exam got me through to King's College, and I had to study because that's extra studies for 3 years. When I listened to my mum, when my mum was talking, it was easy to get a job. So if you walk out of a job, say at 3 o'clock, by 5 o'clock, you would get another job. Our job was easy to get those days. Now, it's very difficult. That would be, say, manual jobs like, say, in the laundrette, because there was a lot of laundrette, there was a lot of factories around where I'm living now. We used to have the onion factory. Not far down the road, there used to be a big shirt factory. So there was quite a lot of factories. It used to have the Highgrave, used to be the meat sausage factory, and those were vicinities. So if someone would walk out of one place, they were easy to get another job somewhere else. So those were the sort of, and the cleaning jobs was easy as well, because cleaning is always easy. But at the time, they weren't talking about cleaning job. They were talking about if you walk out of a factory, you could get a job in another factory somewhere, or it was easy as well to get into studies. So a lot of our parents who were just cleaners, they got in and studied to be cooks and to work in schools as well. A lot of school cooks and things like that. Well, there was detrimental to our community, because there was a SAS law, and it's just beefed up now and called stop and search. But the SAS law was that you go down the road and they'll just pick you up for anything. I remember in Peckham police station, if they didn't like you, they'll put your head down the toilets when you get arrested. There was all sort of horrible things that used to happen with our young people. And that's why a group of us were very active, and we used to march every Saturday morning. Of course, we'll get up and march just to say we're here, we're visible, and we are part of society. We need to fit in. We are going to fit in, because majority of us were born here. The ones who weren't born here, we came here to join our parents. We are British, we've got British passport, and our country was British, so therefore we are, and we're going to stand up for our rights. There was a young man by the name of Mr. Michael, everybody knows him as Michael Gross now, which is a poet, he's a mentor at the moment. Don't work very far from around here. And the police went to look for him, they couldn't find him, and then accidentally they shot his mother, Cherry Gross, and that started the riot, because it was like it was not only Michael's house they were going to lots of different people's houses, and the tension was building up until someone got shot, because there was also issues with immigration, and people used to, when they heard that immigration was coming, they were jumping out the window. There was a lot of people dying, but no one was taking any notice of it, and nobody was empathizing with the family. There was no empathy towards what was going on to the families or anything. So when we had the shooting of Cherry Gross, it was like things have come to a boiling point, and people need to show that we do care, people do care, and these are people's lives. I was in Peckham at the time. I think I was working, but we'll listen to a lot of it in the news. We've heard other friends were there, other people that was in the Brixton area were there, and it started with one car being burnt, and then they started with buildings and so forth, and that's how it just escalated from there. And then Lord Scorman, at the time there was hostility between the community and the police. So Lord Scorman in 1982 decided he thinks that the police should have a better relationship with the community, because they have to police the community. So he went and introduced there should be better community relationship. So he set up a group called consultative group. So he called a police consultative group. When they first started, it was just members of the public in the room. the police, if they enter the room, they would be ostracized. So the police was afraid to enter the room. Now this group is supposed to call the police to account, and the borough commander attends a meeting and answer questions about the community, give you stats on crime, and say what he's doing. If someone was killed, how far they're going. There's sub judice. There's certain things they can't tell you, but they can tell you as much as they can say. So at first it was the community was meeting together, and the police weren't allowed in the room. And then the barrier break down, and we start to say we have to work with the police. So the police is allowed in the room, and they start to send their senior manager. If the borough commander couldn't attend, they would have someone from their senior management team to attend the meeting. So that's been going on since 1982. For most of that time, since then to now, I chaired that meeting in Southwark as a Southwark side. I stopped chairing that in 2014, and I've gone back, and it's changed its status and called Safe Enabled Boards, and now I'm back this year chairing it again. And what it is, it's for to say this Kingswood, this house here is in a part of Southwark, so therefore I will call the borough commander to account once a month to a public meeting, and for anyone can ask him question. Some people think the question should be in writing before, and I think that's not right, because then he's has his script, is like a script, so therefore he's got to be he's accountable, so you can ask whatever you want. So you ask the question, give the answer. If he hasn't got the right answer at the time, he has to come back to you with an answer, or write an answer to the chairperson, and she can circulate that answer to the person. They're changing slightly because the relationship between the police and the community improved, and it's still improving. There's still a lot to do, because it's not going to be 100%, but it's better than it was in 1981. The 2011 riot was totally different, and the reason why that was different, that was about austerity. It wasn't mostly about the Duggan case. They used the Duggan case to say that they wanted a riot. That was about the way the government was treating the people, because, to be fair, everybody wanted a riot. It was at the brink of having a riot. The police just did their job because they were police. If they could be in the riot, they would have been in the riot, because they weren't happy with the situation. But because they have to uphold the law, they were doing their job. Because I was in the middle of that. I had just left the police station after a briefing to say, oh, the riots are happening, let's prepare ourselves for Southwark. And what was on the Twitter and Facebook was, it's going to be at West End. So we all prepared ourselves, it was going to be at West End. I got to Peckham, someone dropped me off to Peckham, and I got to Peckham and I saw the gathering and everybody started. So I asked the person to let me out the car, and I was in the middle of it. I do have a little badge to say I'm an advisor. So I showed the badge, and then the police sort of know where I was. And I stopped shops from burning down. As soon as I light the bin, I would put it out. There was a couple of us who put it out. We got some of the men to help us. When we were tired, the borough commander was looking for me and said, where was I? My son came out and said, I saw you on Facebook, get in the house now. I told you get in the house because you'll be arrested. So I stayed on the street. The borough commander was concerned about me, and he said, you're safer in the police station. I thought I wasn't. I think Sid was there as well. And we weren't safer in the police station, because at one point they started to stone the police station. So I felt safer on the street. So what I did, I got all my boys. When I say boys, we have a little crew for them to get a letter from the borough commander to say these are the people who are trying to get people off the street. And if we showed the letter to the officers when they were, because they was geared up in their riot gear, so they can't really hear much. And if you put one of those things on, because I've tried one on, you can't really hear what's happening. So that's what we did to calm the situation down. A group of us did try to calm the situation down. We did send a message out, don't come on the street, or if we see them, we send them back home. And that's why most of Peckham didn't burn down. Because it so happened, the shop that was burned down, we weren't in that area at the time, but with the area what was in, none of the shops were burned down in that area. Well, I got involved in politics because the same young people says to me, I believe that it takes a mother to give birth to a child, but it takes a village to bring up the child. So I feel like I'm the village. So all the children in Peckham belongs to me, to look after support my young people and to speak up for them. And some of them have done me proud.